big game hunting and how they go about doing it, to what level is Jonathan Kuminga on the table?
Not at all.
Really?
I think he's pretty much look, it's going to get complicated because of his extension talks and how much money they have, but I think they'll do everything they can to keep him. I don't think they want to even talk about him.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Hey!
Don't aggregate her.
You know what that would be?
It's an aggregation sensation is what it is.
Well, way to just hit it right out the gate.
You knew it was coming.
It's coming.
My cue at this point is, you know what that is?
You know what that is? You know what that is?
Yeah.
You got to say it right. You know what that is?
Exactly.
You know where the emphasis is. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Willard and Dibs on the free Odyssey app or wherever you find your favorite podcast. While you're there, make sure to check out the Morning Roast for a look at Clay to the Magic from an Orlando perspective with radio host Brandon Kravitz. Is Clay the Magic's top priority? Guess what else you could do while you're there? Listen to Ramona Shelburne if you're just getting in your car. Did you leave work early? You're supposed to work for 10 more minutes. If you're just leaving work and you missed Ramona, okay, that I thought was an important 20-some-odd minute conversation that covered Clay and Kuminga and big names and how they get them and all of that, okay? So check out Ramona while you're there, too, if you missed it, because she said what you just heard and so much more. And I've heard from a ton of big-name NBA reporters who are like, how are you going to get anyone without Kuminga? And what interests me about Ramona, who I know is in the know, she seems to talk about this stuff as if she's always got this little wink-wink behind her eye. When it's like, Milwaukee's an interesting team. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
And you're like, and then she said, I think that's a next year conversation, not a this year.
Right. Phoenix has got to do something.
Phoenix has got it's all on the table with Phoenix.
Yep.
Kuminga is off the table. It's going to get complicated, but you can just hear that thing in her voice. It's going to get complicated, but, they're the Warriors, and this is what they do.
Who could possibly want Chris Paul in his $30 million contract? He doesn't have to play there.
She said everybody. And, think about it now.
And, yeah, she's right in terms of a team that just wants to take $30 million off their books. We'll take your 30. Chris, don't even bother coming here. It's like what Memphis did with Iguodala. You don't even have to come here. You're cut. You don't want to play here, you're cut. And if it's Chris Paul and $30 million, the team that acquires him, they'll call him right away and say, yeah, we're not sending you a plane ticket. You can go ahead and just be a free agent now.
That is very valuable.
Right?
That is very valuable to a lot of teams. And so, what could you get for that? Something.
Right. A team that's probably not going to be great and wants to take $30 million off their books and, get an asset back as well and load up for next year.
Interesting. Well, again, let's think of teams right now that could be, and you say a team that's not very good. I'd argue maybe it's a team that is kind of potentially good. I've thought the whole time, if you want to talk about Kevin Durant, to me, Chris Paul's in the picture for multiple reasons. Sure, he could play there. They like him there. He played there not that long ago. He's actually kind of what they're missing right now. They don't have a point guard. But forget that for a second. Phoenix is going to tell you they're going to run it back, and maybe they will. But if they don't, what do they need? Big time financial relief.
Right.
Chris Paul, that is very, very valuable because Phoenix needs to, if they're trading Kevin Durant, remember, they're not doing it because they're like, because we want to be really good this year. Well, if you want to be really good this year, you keep Kevin Durant. But if you're trading Kevin Durant, it's because you're like, this didn't work, and we need to find a way out of this cave that we just stuck ourselves in, and that's going to mean financial relief and draft picks. And these are things the Warriors have to offer.
Right.
Without touching Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, especially if it's Chris Paul and Wiggins and a pick, and Phoenix just outright cuts Chris Paul to save the $30 million, and they take the Warriors' first-round pick, or maybe it's a first and a couple of seconds, because as we know about Phoenix, the two things that they don't have are financial flexibility and draft capital. So if they can get draft capital from the Warriors and financial flexibility in the body of Chris Paul, who is instantly cut, and you save $30 million right there, that might be something Phoenix is interested in.
I mean, I just also keep thinking about it this way. There's all the names that we're not thinking about.
Of course.
When you say big game hunting and she says this is the Warrior way, and I have no doubt. I have no doubt that they call Phoenix. I have no doubt that they will, talk to the Pelicans, although that was the one where she said that probably would take Kuminga. That's going to be a very, very competitive situation, trying to get Brandon Ingram out of New Orleans. Maybe they want to give him up, therefore the price goes down, but maybe the price goes back up because a lot of competition. You put a 26-year-old who scores 20 to 25 a game on the market, you're going to get a lot of phone calls. No doubt about that. So that one has that challenge. And then you start thinking about Jimmy Butler and LeBron and Giannis, and she even said, LeBron, they'll probably kick the tires again. But what about all the B pluses that are out there?
Yeah.
Who we're not even thinking about right now. I think there are a handful of those. It feels like there are a lot of teams right now that are either A, wanting to reboot financially, or B, like they really put forth the old college try and realized, oof, this didn't work. Like, how many teams right now in the NBA are looking at themselves going, this is working? How many?
Well, you got 8 that are still playing.
You got 8 that are still playing.
So of those 8, I think they all feel like this is working pretty well. I don't think you can look at any of those 8 and think, this is smoke and mirrors. This thing's not viable.
Cleveland would be my one question.
Yes, because Donovan Mitchell maybe wants to go.
Maybe is on the move. So Cleveland would be sort of my one question there, but you're right.
Dallas answered the question of, can Kyrie and Luka play together and win together, even though I don't think they're going to win this series?
What if they get knocked out in 4? Are they still feeling great about exactly where they are? I don't know.
But the Kyrie to L.A. chatter has already started. If they lose that series, L.A. would, that's what I've heard.
I think L.A. would love Donovan Mitchell above anyone else. If they could have their pick. They could have their pick of an addition.
I wonder if LeBron wouldn't rather have Kyrie, knowing that he can win with Kyrie.
Can't win with Kyrie.
He's won with Kyrie.
A long time ago.
It sure was, but that's not how LeBron thinks. But anyway, as far as your question, how many teams look at it and go, yeah, this S is working.
Right.
It's probably about a dozen. Sacramento would look at what they're doing and think, yeah.
He went the wrong direction a little bit. And they're probably going to lose Malik Monk.
Right.
They got to reboot it. They got a
little bit of a reboot.
They got to tweak a little bit.
But they've got the majority of their quote unquote core. But your question, you look at Philadelphia, and that thing is everybody's going to be gone. Maxi's getting the max. It's going to be Maxi, Embiid, and 11 rookies.
I think the Pacers feel good about the direction, but is Siakam what? Now, did he get an extension, Siakam?
I thought he did.
He got the extension, right?
Yeah, they agreed to an extension once they traded for him.
So I think Indiana likes the direction. The Knicks love their direction. You got a few teams that are just in it right now. Boston, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver. These teams are the competitors.
And I think there's some teams that are Milwaukee's pot committed on what they're doing.
Well, and they all got hurt. So I think that they've at least got an excuse. Orlando headed right direction. Dallas, I guess so.
Houston's heading, Houston's a team that is.
But they're years away. That's
maybe a year away. They made a nice big step this year.
Yeah, but
41-41.
Sure, but
that was a nice step.
But their goal next year would be playoffs, not contention.
Right.
Right.
But again, as far as teams that like what they have and what they're doing, they're not going to be a team that's looking to sell a piece.
No, but even the teams that finished in the playoffs, you know what I mean? We're talking about the Suns. They don't like it. The
Orlando
Pelicans
needs a piece.
Orlando needs a piece, but they're moving in the right direction. Yeah. They don't want to subtract. I'm looking at teams that may want to subtract. The Clippers could subtract. Suns, Lakers, Pelicans, maybe even the Kings. Sure, the Warriors, they're in that bucket as well. The Sixers, you mentioned them. Miami Heat, absolutely. You don't need more fingers than you've got to count the teams that feel like status quo works. So that means I think we're headed for an offseason of a whole lot of stuff moving and shaking around. And the Warriors get to be a part of that. And I think that there may be more people available than we even realize.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Chicago as a team that might be looking to kind of reboot it. And DeMar DeRozan's in the East. I don't think you're a real threat to do much of anything. So I don't know if Zach LaVine's a player that I know a lot of Warrior fans, and I saw the face you just made. He's a guy who can score, not a great defender, but that's the type of B-plus player. When you mention B-plus players, to me, that's one of the names that comes right up. DeJounte Murray is another one.
That one's more interesting to me. That one's more interesting to me than Zach LaVine.
But he's, again, a B-plus kind of a player.
Yeah, but that's fine. He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I just think we may get to a spot like Guys in the Morning had an interesting conversation about Kyle Kuzma. He's in Washington.
Yep.
They just pulled a deal last year. Is that something that Wiggins plus something could net you? Like players like that who have been off the radar of these conversations could end up being the play for the Warriors, because she's right. They'll go big game hunting, but like the chances of them netting one, less than 50-50. I mean, she started that out. Maybe, you kick the tires on LeBron again. Well, yeah, you do it. I doubt it. I doubt that he's leaving Los Angeles. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
Kuzma's
a very interesting one because of two main reasons. One, I like the fit as far as his ability to score and his length. Also, his contract, one of the only ones that's inverted.
Yeah. Oh.
25.6 this year, then 23.5, 21.5, 19.4.
Interesting.
Inverted contract.
I wonder why he structured it that way. He's not that. How old is he?
He's 28.
28.
$90 million deal over 4.
Well, I mean, that's something you're starting to see a lot more of in sports, but it's usually for players that are moving well into their 30s.
Right.
Where it's like we can assume that when you turn 36, you're not going to be as good as you were when you were 30, when you're doing that long-term deal. Eric Hosmer had one of those deals with the Padres years ago.
22.2 a game for Kuzma this year.
I mean,
and an inverted deal.
It's not a horrible name.
And it's not an albatross.
Yeah.
I mean, he's owed $64 million over the next 3 years. That's peanuts in the association.
And I see, okay, back to the word you used a second ago, though. This is really, to me, this is super interesting. First off, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey sports station, always live on the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. If I am Mike Dunleavy and Steve Kerr and all of the dignitaries with the Golden State Warriors, and then we're going to the calls here in just a second. Vince, you'll be first up. Stay right where you are. If I'm them, I am calling a very high-powered meeting, and there will be one word on the board when Steph Curry and Draymond Green sit down in the room, because it's probably with the two of them and maybe only the two of them. And I say, okay, let's talk about fit.
Yeah.
That is our word of the offseason. Fit. You don't need to convince any of us that Jonathan Kuminga is good and young and exciting and bouncy. He's all of those things. Does he fit? Does Kyle Kuzma fit? Right? DeJounte Murray fit? Does LeBron James fit? Like, just think about the word. Oh, LeBron, he can fit in it. I know. But, like, let's have a Steph Curry, LeBron conversation about on-ball, off-ball, like age, health, defense. Like, let's get smart people in the room and really, like, this is where I think Draymond is at his strength. You can all get mad at the technical fouls, but you can't get mad at the brain. Look at the big brain Andre.
Basketball savant.
Exactly. So sit down. Let's have a video board and tell us who you think fits the way you all need to play basketball. And I pay money to sit and listen to that conversation.
For sure. And you mentioned Kuzma and Murray just straight off the rip. Kuzma, for me, is a better version of Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who isn't great at shooting the three, is explosive to the rim, can get his own shot, and doesn't play. To say me ball is too harsh for both players, but he definitely needs to have the ball in order to score. Like Steph can work off the ball like no player we've seen since Reggie Miller.
I don't know if he screams basketball intelligence when he plays.
Right.
And actually, it's interesting that you just comped Kuzma and Kuminga.
He's a better, more experienced version of Kuminga.
But he's who I hope that Kuminga doesn't become. See, this is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I get your point.
When we talk about the future of Jonathan Kuminga, you'll get a couple people at the end of the bar who go, dude, future star. And then the naysayer is Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, he might just be like good. He might be a B-level guy. He might be a guy who could score 20 points in the NBA a night, but is he ever going to affect winning? Can he ever really be a one? Like when I think
he can be a one on a 20-win team.
There you go. So when I think of the future of Jonathan Kuminga, if you told me right now he's destined to be Kyle Kuzma, I'd trade that guy so fast you wouldn't even be able to blink. Because that's not what you're hoping for. If you're hell-bent on an extension and keeping Jonathan Kuminga, it's because you believe he can become better than Kyle Kuzma.
Right, and that would mean that he develops a real outside shot. Because if you look at Kuzma over 7 years in the association, he's at 33.7% from three, and he shoots it 19 times a night. So if he came to Golden State, all right, Kyle, nice little run there in Washington where you went 14, 18, and 19 shots per game over your 3 years. How about we get back to your Laker days where you shot it 11 times a night? Mm-hmm. How's that feel, Kyle? Yeah. And I don't know if he would be able to adjust back to that. DeJounte Murray, on the other hand, is a guy who's averaging 6 assists a night, doesn't shoot it. I mean, he shoots it 19 times, but I think he could adjust more
He's a good player.
To being a passer and being a facilitator in the offense.
And what's his age? He's younger.
They're basically the same age.
Oh,
20, yeah. DeJounte is September of 96. Kuzma was born in July of 95. So Kuzma a year older.
Okay, 27. Murray's 27. All right.
Yep.
Vince in the city. Thank you for holding. Hey, Vince, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? I was the one who wanted to talk about Brandon Ingram, and thank you for bringing it up with Ramona Shelburne. That was cool to see what she had to think about it. I mean, that's a guy who I feel like when KD left, I felt like Brandon Ingram could have been a lesser version of KD, and he really could have still alleviated pressure off of Steph. I still think that he could do it, but now looking at contracts and money, I don't know how we would be able to get him. I do like the idea of trading Chris Paul and a pick because Chris Paul is dead money. I don't know if 20 minutes or so off the bench is going to get you into a deep playoff run, especially given he's always hurt every season. Like he was, I forget how many games he was out, but he was out and Draymond were out at the same time, and it really, I think, messed up the chances in the games that we should have won but lost this year. And then I don't know. I mean, if Orlando wants Clay, is there a way that we can maybe get one of the Wagner brothers? I know he won't be on the roster, but one of the, however you say their last name, one of those twins or brothers.
Well, remember, if Clay goes to Orlando, Vince, it's not a trade. He just goes.
He's a free agent, but they're also pretty young. I feel like Chris Paul might be a good fit over there since he's a vet point guard, and you'd team him with Klay Thompson. They would play again together, and then give them Banchero. But then we would get somebody who kind of fits a need for the Warriors in a big who could shoot and run the floor and space the floor to help Steph.
Yeah, I just, again, you're the only way you're getting something from Orlando is if you trade Chris Paul there. And if you trade Chris Paul there, it's probably, Vince, thanks, it's probably for financial relief more so than it is for Chris Paul. Like right now, he's scheduled a non-guaranteed $30 million for next year. Nobody wants to pay Chris Paul $30 million to play basketball next year. Nobody wants to do that. Somebody might want him on their team, but not for $30 million. So I don't see that as being a match. We can talk about what Ramona said about Clay here in just a second, but we do have a super chat, a $5 super chat. Is this Lon or Eon?
It's Ion, I believe.
Ion.
Cash me out one time.
Thank you, Ion, or whatever your name is. Says Kuminga is the perfect fit as long as he doesn't take more than 3 dribbles at a time. For a motion offense, he sure stops the ball a lot. That's my question. That is my question. And I don't think he's a traditional ball stopper. You see Jonathan do that more when it's out of necessity.
Right.
We got 9 left on the shot clock. Here's the ball. Hey, dude, you take it. And I get that. I think he's at his best in motion when he's in transition. Outside of that, it still takes work. And the reason I think it takes work, I keep going back to the same thing with him. Jonathan Kuminga becomes a superstar when he can hit a 3.
Yeah.
With consistency and off the dribble. Not just that slow set, everybody left me alone, Draymond Green looking 3 that he shoots right now. Sure, it goes in at an okay rate. But the problem is everybody knows he wants to drive. And so they sag off him, and he's able to get to the hoop, but he often gets there, and there's 3 defenders waiting for him. This happened a lot in the Sacramento game, and there's just nothing there. There's no way for him to finish. If things go well, he gets fouled and goes to the line. And he did a good job with that this year. But that's, to me, he becomes a superstar when he makes them come out on him at the 3-point line and then he flies by.
Right, and he gets the ability to go off the dribble when they come out and close out. 2 dribbles, get to the mid-range and score there, off the glass or straight up from the top of the circle or wherever. Right now, his ability to score is limited to alley-oops, putbacks, drives to the hoop, and the occasional 3. So you expect that from a player his age. He's only played 3 years, 4 years if you count his year in the G League. So he's got a lot of growth that he's still going to do, but little bit disappointing that his long-distance shot regressed this year.
Let's go to Jack in Pleasant Hill. Jack, what are you doing?
Yo, how's it going? It's my Friday, baby.
It is?
Yeah. I just got off my shift from Jack's Restaurant and Bar, actually.
Well, wait, you're Jack, so is it your restaurant?
I'm just a guy. I'm just some guy that works there.
Okay. I was going to say, because if they named it after you, then your weekend is whenever the hell you want it to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd be calling from the freaking Caymans. No, I was calling to say these are my big points at the Warriors right now. Clay, thank you for everything. Get that money in Orlando. Thanks for the final audition versus the Kings in the play-in in front of Joe Lacob. That was all we needed. I really, really wish you the best. We love you, bro. Second thing, unless you can get LeBron James, you got to just set sail on the whole like old mega superstar thing. The torch is being passed from the old guys to the young guys in the league. Ant Edwards is shredding right now. Shea is shredding right now. You got to get someone that can keep up with that stuff. So I think you package up Kuminga because I don't think he's got like the sauce like those other guys I mentioned. Package him up. See if you can get like Mikal Bridges out of Brooklyn. Because that guy's a primary scorer, and then I think you still have like a championship roster around Steph. So that's my 2.5 cents right there.
Jack, thanks. Jack, that's somehow your bon voyage to Klay Thompson did not sound
very
sincere. Hey, Clay, we love you so much. Bye!
Hey, Clay, don't let the door hit you.